So on the workbench today, we've got a Gretsch case, but inside we have a Gibson Super 400. Or do we? So as we said, we've got a Gibson Super 400 here, looking very nice. And if this guitar looks familiar, it's this is one of the guitars that Elvis used on the '68 comeback special when he was in the black leather suit and that. We'll get you a picture there, so you can see this is quite similar. It's the same type of model and that. So it's in just to be serviced and set up, but we're gonna just take a closer look at it and just show you some issues we think there is with it. So as we said, this instrument is in for a service and a setup, and we've got some issues with there's some strange buzzes on some of the strings. This pickup is quite weirdly angled back and doesn't want to seem to move, but there is one other very large issue with the instrument, and we're going to take a closer look at that. And the issue is that it's fake.
It's a fake!
This is not a real Gibson Super 400, and we're going to take you through the instrument and point out some of the ways that you can tell that it's not real, and issues that we might be able to fix, some we can't, and we'll just get the instrument playing as best we can, all in the knowledge that it is not worth several thousand euro or dollars. And we'll just talk you through some of the problems now. So as you said, we're going to talk you through all the things that give this away as being fake. And one of the first things I'll say is that it feels cheap. As in, just handling the guitar, moving it around, everything about it just feels that it's not an expensive guitar. Like a Super 400 like this with the Florentine cutaway, you're talking thousands and thousands of euros or dollars or whatever, like easily in and around 10 grand to get one, and this does not feel like a guitar that's worth 10 grand. Now I will say, at a distance, if you saw somebody up on stage playing this and you were 15-20 feet away, it does look the part, but as you get closer and closer, it starts to look cheaper and cheaper, and more things start to stand out at you that aren't right. So as I said, we're going to take you through everything that gives this away as being a fake, and maybe you can use it. You might spot fakes yourself if you do see one for sale and that. So we'll just take you through some of the things that leap out as being fake. So we're just starting off with the headstock here, and if we compare this side by side with a real Super 400, a few things will jump out just straight away. First will probably be the truss rod cover. You can see they are completely different and do not look alike at all. Our one here doesn't say custom or anything like that, but there are other versions of the Super 400 headstock with a different truss rod cover that is similar to this, but the white border around here is much thicker because the entire truss rod cover has been bound, and so straight away there's something not right there. Next we have our custom shop logo here, the split diamond. You can see it's definitely something not right there. It's the wrong size and slightly in the wrong position. So as I said, as you get closer to the instrument, these things kind of jump out at you. But if you're on stage 10-15 feet away, this wouldn't stand out. So moving on to the other side of the headstock. So looking at the back of our headstock now, there's a few things we need to look at. And we'll start straight away with our serial number here. Now there's several different sites you can go on and input your serial number, and it'll tell you what year the instrument was made and that, but we can do a much simpler version of that. If you just Google this number, and by Googling it I mean just the actual digits themselves, don't mention that it's a guitar serial number or anything to do with musical instruments, literally just type in those digits, and straight away some of the Google results you'll get will be people asking about are instruments real or not. So that's immediately a red flag. And as I said, this is completely fake. This turns up on dozens and dozens, maybe probably hundreds of instruments all the time. They just use it and all the time. As far as I know, it says something like it's a 2015 Les Paul or something like that, which it obviously isn't, but that comes up on multiple instruments. We've got our Made in USA stamp here, and of course it wasn't. And we've got fake Grover tuners here. again, they look the part, they do seem to function, but obviously they wouldn't work as smoothly or as well as actual Grovers, and they feel a little rough, especially around where Grover has been engraved or cast in place there. So that's the back of the headstock. So staying with the headstock, we're just taking off our fake truss rod cover here. And oh my god, this screw holding in the truss rod cover, oh my god, look at the length of that screw. I'm surprised that doesn't actually poke all the way through the back, it's that long. So again, another red flag there. We slide our truss rod cover out of the way. So taking a closer look at our truss rod cavity here, and as you said, we've got lots of gunk that you'd normally expect in some guitars from polishing compounds and stuff, but as we said, this is supposed to be a proper Gibson and we don't actually have a truss rod nut. Now we'll just show you what an actual Gibson truss rod cavity looks like, and you can see the adjustment nut is visible. So we don't have an adjustment nut visible, so it's quite strange. And just poking about inside, there does seem to be a truss rod cover, but there's a huge amount of build-up of plasticky lacquer here from wherever the guitar was sprayed, and it's just coming off in pieces. Again, there's no way a custom shop a Gibson guitar has this. So we'll just check inside that cavity now and see do we have a truss rod at all. So we're just checking with an Allen key here. Seems to be too large, so just checking with a 4mm Allen key. And we do have a truss rod of some kind, and our 4mm Allen key is in there adjusting it. It's moving very, very easily. It doesn't seem like there's any tension on it at all. So there is a truss rod in there at least, and we now know it's a 4mm adjustment, which means it's not the standard Gibson one. Again, showing that this is a fake. And generally a 4mm truss rod like that indicates that the instrument is made in the Far East and that it's using a metric truss rod adjustment. So again, another red flag that this isn't a real custom shop Gibson Super 400, and we'll just keep on moving down now and showing you some of the other things that stand out. So apologies for the noise of the rain in the background, it's absolutely bucketing down here in Dublin. But moving on with our Super 400, and the next thing we'll look at is our inlays here. Now this is a very distinctive pattern that you normally only find on the Super 400, and sometimes the custom shop will be asked and they'll put them on other instruments, but it's generally very distinctive as being Super 400 only. And I'm going to take it nice and closely just to show you exactly what they look like, and again where we can see the errors. So we're currently looking here at our 9th fret. And this shows up both the things, so we'll just show you closely here. First thing you may notice is that you can see the tip of the inlay here is closer to this fret than it is at that end. So our inlay isn't in straight, which definitely doesn't happen nowadays, as most of these inlays are cut with CNC machines, etc. So it doesn't happen, and definitely wouldn't happen on a Gibson custom shop. And the other thing as well, if you just notice along the edge of the inlay here, you can see a much darker line along the edge. And that's where, because the inlay mustn't have fitted properly, they've used some filler or like black super glue or something like that to cover up the mistake. And so it really shows up on a lot of the inlays. You can see that extra dark border around it, where the pearl should form a straight line but doesn't because filler was used. So again, that's another way to show up that this is not a genuine Gibson Super 400. So again, the next thing we'll look at, and we mentioned it earlier, is this pickup at quite a weird angle, and the fact that it's absolutely rigidly stuck in place. Now I know Gibson gets maligned sometimes for the lack of quality control, but there's no way that a pickup would be just wedged into place like that and unable to move. So that's one of the things we're going to be attempting to remedy. And like when I say it's stuck, it's completely stuck. You can see with this one, we've got movement on it, so it can move up and down, but this is not going anywhere at all. And my feeling is that when we take this pickup off and look around it, that there will be extra wood underneath where the neck is here that wasn't routed out properly to accommodate for the full size of the pickup, but we could be surprised, you never know. And then just looking here towards the end of the instrument, the next thing that stands out as well is that our tailpiece is all wrong. I'm showing a picture here of what the actual tailpiece should look like, and you can see the difference in shape and style. So obviously this was just whatever the manufacturers in the Far East would have had and just put it on to complete the look, but it's not exact. And then the last thing we'll talk about, pointing out that things aren't right, are our F-folds here. You can see all our white line inside. That is supposed to be binding, but it is just paint, and it's very uneven. Thicker in some parts, thinner in others. So again, this is not a custom shop instrument worth thousands, and it really does stand out that the binding is just painted on rather than actually glued in place. And then very lastly, I think what gave it away for me as soon as the case was opened, and what really shows up that this is not a custom shop instrument, is this pickguard. It's slightly the wrong colour and style, and our last piece of binding here, the thicker white one here, is completely the wrong size. You can hear that scraping sound as there's a huge ridge where it sticks up way too far all along. And I'll just take you in closer as well and show you how this is cut. So we're looking down over the top of the pickguard here, and just if you look in this section here, starting from here, you can see it's completely uneven. It's touching the neck here and then goes off at an angle, coming down. It's not straight at all. Then we've got a huge chunk taken out here. Our binding is all completely uneven here, and as we said, this last piece has a huge ridge sticking up, coming down around the bridge pickup. You can see again it's offline. It's not straight here, and this is all very uneven. And we have our ridge. This screw sticks up way above the surface, as the hole hasn't been countersunk. And as we said, it's slightly off with the colour and style as well. So again, definitely not a custom shop Gibson we have here. So all said, as we said, starting from items on the headstock, down the neck, the body, overall feel and construction just feels very cheap. And again, just looking into the sound hole here, you can see we don't have a Gibson label of any kind in either of the sound holes. This may not show up in the light, but you can see some of the wiring in here. It looks very cheap, lots of different colours, and isn't secured in any way at all inside. So just some final thoughts on the instrument here. First thing we're going to do is we'll get in touch with the owner of the instrument. The instrument was passed on to us through a third party and asked that it be set up and serviced. So we want to speak directly to the owner first before we do anything, and let them know that the instrument is in fact counterfeit, and hopefully they already know, and that they didn't spend a ridiculous amount of money buying this thinking it was genuine. And we'll see if they want us to proceed with doing the work, because as we said, this instrument is pretty much worthless because it is counterfeit. It would be wrong and in fact illegal for anyone to try and sell it on, claiming it was genuine. A lot of the Irish online musical instrument sites just won't accept it because it is a replica, counterfeit, fake, whatever you want to call it, and they're right to do so. So as we said, we'll discuss with the owner whether they want us to do the work to make the instrument playable, and hopefully they just use it to hang on their wall or something like that. And we'll see what happens from there, and we may come back and we'll see and show you whether we do the work or not, or what happens. But hopefully this is a handy guide for some people if you want to look out for certain things and know whether an instrument you may or may not be buying is genuine, and just things that you can look out for. And we'll see what happens.